Hello, and welcome to the Straight to the Source podcast. I'm Tawnya Bahr.
And I'm Lucy Allen, and we're looking forward to taking you straight to the source of the people driving our food and hospitality industry forward.
We are so excited today because we have Sam and Liz from Hillside Food Forest in the studio. Sam is an engineer. Liz is a dietitian by trade. They have just traded in their 9-to-5 jobs, moved to the farm, and now they're wonderful regenerative farmers that are here to share their story with us. It's a conversation about regenerative farming with brains, heart, and a little bit of humor thrown in. Okay, well, welcome, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I've got to ask you, an engineer and a dietitian, how in the world did you go from those two professions and take the leap into regenerative farmers? Who wants to go first?
Well, I went down the rabbit hole first, so I started getting really stuck into how regenerative farms work, how permaculture works, trying to implement a lot of the aspects of that into our own lives. So we had gardens, we built an aquaponics system, we had chickens, and this is just in Sydney rentals. And I'd had some health issues, and I'd really started learning about how our food was produced, and that's the thing that triggered me kind of trying to learn a lot more. Mm-hmm. And every time I learnt more, I got kind of more and more horrified about chemical use and about how that impacts health and a lot of chronic health conditions coming out as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And then we started trying to produce more and more ourselves. And agriculture was probably an industry that I would have gone into if I had known that it was an option. But, growing up, I guess the thing that you hear is always about farmers struggling. It's about how they can't make a living. They don't have control over what they can sell their produce for. And then they're just at the mercy of the weather.
Well, sorry, Sam, did you grow up on a farm?
No. Okay. No background in farming whatsoever.
And you, Liz?
No, I'm a city girl.
Okay.
I grew up in Sydney.
All righty.
Look, I'd always loved animals. So I had, I was just in a suburban block, so grew up, I had dogs and cats, and we even had some ducks and rabbits and mice. We had pretty much everything that you can have in that kind of context. And I definitely would have wanted to take it further had I known that it was, a viable option, really. And then once I started learning more about direct-to-consumer models and about permaculture techniques, regenerative agriculture, then the door was kind of blown wide open. And I only discovered those because of, learning about the conventional system, about how it was impacting our health.
And was that the point when you went out searching for the right property to make the leap?
That took a lot longer.
Did it?
Yeah. It probably took us, years of really trying to learn more.
And where is the farm?
So we're in Putty, which is northwest of Sydney. So head out to Windsor and then keep going about 100 k's an hour towards Singleton up the Putty Road. And we're one of the turnoffs directly between the two national parks. So Yango National Park and Woolamai.
So what was it that made you say to yourselves, this is it, this is the property you want to buy?
Well, it was the middle of COVID when we started looking. So we were living in a half terrace in Redfern. It was hardly any space there. We had an aquaponics system in the back, and we were growing whatever food that we could and experimenting with that. And so we decided to draw a 2.5-hour radius around Sydney and start having a look at what we could afford. Because when we first started, we were planning to make the commute for our careers back then. And so we started having a look, and we stumbled upon this place in Putty that was not too far for us, but also we could afford it. It wasn't by any means the perfect place, our dream property, but it had a lot of promise. And it's a great starter block, I think. So it was quite degraded block of land, and had always had cattle running on it, but never managed. So we saw that there was a lot of work to do, but we felt like we could make a difference on that block of land and improve it.
I love the name of your farm. It's Hillside Food Forest.
Yes.
Now, how did that come to be?
Well, we started, food forest is a concept in permaculture, and we started a permaculture design course because the future for our business is that we want to get to the point where we can design a food forest. So at the moment, we're doing the animal side of things and making it commercially viable. But the future for our business would be to then start building the food forest and start planting and being able to produce value-add products from the food forest as well. So, that's sort of where it comes from.
Well, Sam, what did your friends think? Did your friends go, "What are you guys doing? Are you crazy?"
Yep. The main reaction was, "Are you crazy? Like, what are you doing?" It still is that as well.
You still get it today.
Still get that a lot.
People that we meet, like whether it's at the farmers market or whether it's at friends of friends that are like, "How did you get into this? Like, what made you decide to do this?" And yeah, even my family were like, I think my auntie is what she always says, like, if you had to pick anyone out of our family that was going to go off and start a farm, it wouldn't have been Liz. She would have been the last choice. But
even now, our friends and family, we'll be catching up. They'll be talking about their lives, and we'll talk about our lives, and obviously we'll end up talking about challenges on both sides. And the types of challenges we have are just so unlike anything that they would encounter in their lives.
Can you elaborate on
pigs escaping. It's a cow going down and then us having to go and pull a calf. It's all these kind of problems which are just you don't get exposure to in everyday life when you're living in the city.
Weather is a big one too.
How
at the mercy of Mother Nature we are. When we first moved, we were flooded in within a month. And we weren't set up for it. We weren't prepared. So we didn't have a generator. So where we are, the power goes out quite easily, quite regularly, because we're on maintenance power. But there's only maybe less than 100 people that live in Putty, the valley area. So it takes a while for the power to come back up.
Well, you mentioned there was cattle originally on the property. Now, you guys have cattle, pigs, and chickens.
Yeah.
So how did that progression, how did you decide those were the animals you wanted to grow and to have?
Well, if we'd done it the smart way, we probably would have started with one and built on that and then got that going. But we were sort of we're both animal lovers, so we sort of just jumped into it. And so we started with cattle. So we kept the cattle that we bought the property. They had cattle, so we kept them. And then we moved to chickens, and we started with very small batches just to start experimenting and understanding how it all works and seeing what works for our environment and the climate as well. There's not a lot of information out there for Australia in particular. When you're talking about pasture-raised poultry, it's all a lot of the information's more about the American climate and works for them, but what works for us when we're getting over 40-degree day heat and frost as well. So we we started with batches of 50, so very small, just selling giving to family and friends. And then we went and got 3 pigs from Tamworth in New South Wales. We did the day trip and we were like, we're just going to try it out, see how we go. We'll get 3 pigs. So we got 2 female, 1 male. And of course, what happens when you have males and females together? We ended up having piglets and it sort of just went from there, snowballed. So, yeah.
Well, we started off with the 3 because we weren't confident with our animal husbandry skills. I mean, we'd had no experience with large animals. So we had this herd of cattle and we were interacting with them. We were trying to get comfortable. And then we were talking about getting some pigs because we really needed help renovating the pastures and we didn't have any equipment to do that. So, pigs are a really great tool for that. because they love to basically plow. They like to root around and dig up the ground, and they're really amazing. But we were really unsure about getting pigs. And so our approach was, well, we'll get a few, we'll raise them as pets, and we'll keep them as breeders.
Right. Okay.
And that would mean that we'd have a chance to get comfortable with them. They'd get comfortable with us, and maybe we could help, manage our lack of skills in that way.
Well, your learning curve just sounds enormous, right? And I know you guys are just continuing to learn every 100%. Single day. But has there been any crazy, weird moments along the way to date, that stand out with, understanding how pigs think?
Where do you start with that one?
Yeah, they're funny animals. Yeah, they're funny animals, that's for sure. They've got personalities, and you could just watch them for hours. But yeah, that brings up a funny story. We when we first started out, we were using a horse trailer as our means of moving the animals from point A to point B on farm. And we had loaded one pig into the back of the horse trailer, and we're driving it over to the other yards so we could take it for processing. And we pulled the door down, me and Sam on either side. We look in, and there's no pig there. We're like, what's going on? And we're talking about at least 2 meter high off the ground, 2.5.
So they can jump.
So it jumped out, didn't even use any other pig as leverage or anything, jumped straight out, and we just see this mud mark on the back of the trailer where it's brushed it on the way down. And then we go back to try and find it, and he's just waiting outside the electric fencing to the paddock, waiting for the other pig just to be let in. So pigs can jump. So the electric fencing is more of a not a physical, but that's the word.
Sorry.
Psychological barrier, not a physical barrier. But yeah.
What about you, Sam? Any memorable moments that just jump right out?
Yeah, packing chickens is always a hard job, but it's always a messy job.
Right.
One time in particular, we were packing chickens, and so when you pack chickens, you got to go pick them up and you put them in crates, on a trailer. And Liz was standing on the trailer, and she was loading the chickens. And I start walking away, and I feel this splat on the back of my head, and I thought, oh no, what is that? And I felt it, and sure enough, it's chicken shit.
You've been shit on.
And what had happened is Liz had aimed this chicken at me. Not on purpose, although that's what she says. It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was. and got me.
Yeah.
So that would have been, a meter or something?
It was a couple of meters.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
So the crates are on a flatbed trailer. So I'm standing up there trying to get to the top crates, and Sam's passing me the chicken, and as he's passing it to me, it's I'm positioned it to be away from me, but right in front of Sam.
As a couple creating Hillside Food Forest and going on this journey together, having independent careers, how has that been? And I would imagine you have different skill sets.
Yeah.
And what does a day look like?
Every day is different.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How so? Paint us a picture. I'm curious.
Well, it's changing now again because Sam was working off farm as an engineer up until a few weeks ago. So we joked that he was the spare time farmer and I was the full-time farmer. So I've been full-time on the farm for almost 2 years now. And Sam's been working as an engineer so that we could basically finance and just make sure that we could keep going with our mortgage repayments and all of that and trying to get the business off the ground. So, that's how it started.
In a week, we might do 35, 40 hours of driving. That's a really big thing that we'd never considered. Yeah. But, a day might go from getting up at 3 to take animals to the abattoir. And then that's pretty much your day. That's going to be an 8-10 hour round trip. But then the next day might be all book work. Might be social media marketing. It might be actually out farming. It might be going to the markets. Each day is very, very different. And we're doing a lot of juggling of different hats. And because it is just the two of us, we have to do everything.
Yeah. So I might be packing orders. So we do a weekly drop off. So because we deliver Australia-wide, I've got to get those orders out by Friday. So I'm packing all the orders. And then I've got the food, like the product development, so doing all the value add, the skincare, like we do pet treats. So we're trying to use the whole animal, nose to tail. So anything that we don't sell online, we try to then convert into a different product down the line. Yeah.
So how important has it been? You guys are selling your products through Carriageworks Farmers Markets every single week?
Yep.
Yes.
And online?
Yep.
And then you've also started your wholesale distribution and supplying restaurants directly. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Yes?
Yep, we've had a couple of starts, so that's really exciting.
Yeah. So how important has it been to get feedback from chefs on your product?
It's been huge for us. Initially it was just about confidence. I mean, the not having a background in it, knowing that we liked the produce, but not really having the confidence to know whether it was actually good or not. So especially being at Carriageworks, we've got a lot of chefs that come by and use our produce. We may not necessarily be in their venues, but they're using it themselves. And then they come back and they give us a lot of feedback. And that's been really amazing because it's been overwhelmingly great.
As you grow and your business grows and Hillside Food Forest gets more brand recognition and more chefs are trying it, you're scaling now. So you are able to provide your products to venues. Can you talk me through what that looks like if there's chefs listening who have venues that want to try your pork or your chicken?
Well, last year for us was all about getting consistency and a really high level of quality for our products. So it's one thing to produce one batch of chickens at a really high level of quality, but can we do that repetitively? And can we do that at larger numbers? So last year, that was all the year was about for us, as well as developing a number of different value-add products. This year, it's taking the lessons learnt from that and building on it and scaling up. So this year for us is all about increasing scale so that we can offer our produce to venues and in a wholesale capacity. And so we've already increased our chicken numbers quite a lot this year. We actually doubled it.
Okay.
And we're on a seasonal break now because it's too cold to produce chickens right now where we are. But come spring, we'll be doubling it again.
Okay.
And that really changes everything for us in terms of our ability to offer our products to wholesale venues.
So let's talk about fresh versus frozen and your model around food service.
Well, so all of our produce is frozen by default. So for our chickens in particular, they're frozen at the abattoir immediately after slaughter. And the reason we've done that for a few reasons, but one of them is it allows us to offer a much higher level of quality than we would be able to otherwise.
How so?
So if we process our chickens on a Tuesday, but then they're not used until, say, the weekend, there's a number of days there where that product is, it's sitting there, it's losing shelf life. But if it's frozen and it's frozen well, and that's a key point, if it's frozen well immediately after being processed, then as soon as it's thawed out, its full shelf life is available.
Right. So, and with the pork? Pork is the same, or is that different?
It's the same for the pork. Yeah, that's right. So we blast freeze everything. We can make exceptions, definitely, but that's our default is to freeze everything, and it lets us offer this much higher level of quality. But it also has this knock-on effect of allowing us to ship all over the country, which has been a massive game changer, and not worry about the product then degrading in transit. I mean, that's been massive. I mean, when you're dealing with couriers, there are issues, especially when you're on the retail side. So direct to customers all over the country. Sometimes orders get lost. Sometimes they get delayed. And the fact that it's frozen product means that it's not an issue.
So how do you go about telling your point of difference, telling your story about your regenerative farming practices, when you're talking to the consumer, whether it's at the markets or a chef in their venue? What is the difference between your chicken and perhaps commercially, conventionally processed chicken?
Well, the big thing is that with our chicken, we pasture-raise them. So they're not in sheds, and they're completely different to free-range chickens as well. So they're getting fresh pasture every day. So we have a chicken tractor system that we've built. So it's just an enclosed area. and we have a set number of birds that are in the tractor. We pull them with our ute every day onto new pasture. So they're not in their own filth. So they're not having to be pumped full of antibiotics and they're also being able to go around and scratch and for bugs and eat grass and all that sort of thing. So get a bit of variety in their diet as well. The thing with something like free range, for example, is that yes, they can be let out during a certain number of hours of the day, but they tend to congregate around the same areas. So that area is never cleaned. So they're still in their own filth. So we don't have to worry about that. And they're also doing a benefit to our pasture as well, because they're also fertilizing the ground and they're not degrading it because they're only in there for a small amount of time. So you're not getting heavy manure. You're getting enough that it's helping the pasture to be fertilized and, improve the soil as well.
And that's a really big point with regenerative agriculture. So take the waste, for example. So, in the industrial model, the chickens are in a shed for their whole life. It might be 5-6 weeks, which is the norm for an industrial system. But they're in their manure their entire life. And so they need antibiotics to live. Otherwise, they won't survive that long. But then you're left with this massive amount of manure that needs machines to then remove it and prepare the shed for a new batch. Whereas the way that we raise our chickens, they deposit their manure and then we move the birds to a new spot, and we do that every single day. So that pollutant becomes a resource for us. So the chickens are actually in an area where we want them to be our fertilization team. So they're helping us improve the pastures by depositing this very small amount of manure every single day in a set area.
So how many chickens in the spring do you plan on having? Or how many can you process at a time?
It'll be between 1,000 and 1,200 birds in a batch. So that we run our batches in 6-week cycles. So we raise them to 8 weeks of age, but we do that every 6 weeks.
And then with your pigs, how many pigs do you have? And what is your plan for the future?
So we've actually got a lot less pigs now than we started the year with. So, we only started the year with 120, so that's still very, very small, but we now only have about 75, 76. So we've been processing roughly 4 a week when we've been processing this year, which has been really amazing.
So the word's getting out about your brand and the pork and the quality. And that leads me to thinking about collaborations. So you've recently collaborated with LPs and created a small goods range.
Yes.
We just happen, I can smell it as we're here. So if you don't mind,
of course.
I'm going to open, brought
please.
Something with you.
Yes. So
you even spelled my name right with a W.
So this is our bacon. So we're LPs. We're very fortunate to be working with him. He's producing our wet cure bacon. So this is a middle bacon, so at the top of the rasher. And you can see a big point of difference from our pork to, say, something that you might find on supermarket shelves, and that's the fat. So our Tamworth breed pigs, they're an old world pig. They were critically rare when we first and they still are, aren't they? They still are a critically rare breed. But they're also an old bacon breed. So you've got your lard pigs that are bred for lard production. So something like your Mangalitsa, which we don't have in Australia, but they're very much even fattier than that. Then you've got your meat pigs. So your conventional large white, for example. And then we've got our bacon breed, which is right in the middle. So sort of 50-50 fat versus
some of the differences
meat.
there is the meat pigs, they grow really big, really fast, and they're very lean. Whereas the lard pigs grow very slowly. There's not a lot of meat, but there's a lot of fat. And so, ours being somewhere in the middle gives this really great mix of super, super tasty pork that doesn't dry out. But you can see there's quite a small eye, especially compared to, some of your bigger meat breeds, even some of the heritage meat breeds as well.
Yeah.
But that fat layer and the marbling throughout means that it's a totally different experience.
A flavor bomb.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So continuing on that regenerative pathway, you also have come out with value adding, talking about wanting to use everything, and your cosmetic range, which I know you've brought as well. Walk us through how that came to be and where you want to see that, and what's the response been like?
Oh, it's been amazing. Like, so it started off because of the breed of pig that we chose. So Tamworth being quite high with fats, Sam was researching what sort of pig breed we wanted. So like Berkshire is quite common in the regen space and known for having delicious meat. But we wanted a good pig that would forage and be our excavation team. So from your research, you found that they were like one of the pigs that did really well on pasture as well and not in sheds.
We also needed a pig that would be fairly self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So, I mean, us not having a whole lot of skill raising animals, we didn't want an animal that needed to rely on us. So a lot of the heritage breeds, especially the more commercial breeds, when they're having their litters, they need a lot of help. And we didn't have the skill set. So we needed this pig that would do really well outside and in our conditions, but also make up for what we lacked. And so we stumbled on the Tamworth pig. Yeah. And initially it was our biggest weakness in hindsight because of this massive amount of fat compared to what people are used to, and trying to educate customers and even chefs too. A lot of chefs haven't seen pork like this, and it is something that often happens. A chef will walk past our stall at the markets, see our pork, and kind of be shocked at what it looks like.
And that's with even trimming most of the fat off. So we trim at least 50% of the fat off, but we needed to come up with this way of making the fat something that could like be worthwhile having. And that's where the lard-based moisturizer was born. So like we knew they used to make lard soap, like soaps was a big thing that lard was used for. So I was rendering a lot of lard and noticing that when I was getting it on my hands, it was like feeling very soft.
And it was also the very first ham that we had. The very first ham we had this
carve up the ham.
layer of fat on it, and we were trying to get into the meat. And in doing so, our hands got completely covered in this fat. And while the fat on itself, like without being rendered, it's very greasy. The after effect was kind of crazy. Like our hands felt so soft and so smooth, and we thought, oh, there's clearly something here that we should explore.
Yeah, and with the resurgence in tallow-based moisturizers and skincare, obviously tallow coming from beef, we sort of found that well, why can't we do lard-based moisturizers? And so after a bit of research, we found that like genetically we're a lot more similar to pigs than we are to cows. So they use skin grafts from pigs. They use valves from heart surgery for valve replacement from porcine or pigs. So lard is actually non-comedogenic, which means it doesn't block your pores.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a 0 on that scale. But the important thing about the lard is that it needs to be from a good source. You need to know how the pig was raised, because pigs store toxins in their fats. So not using antibiotics, not using pesticides or herbicides on the pasture that they're raised on. That's all really important. And
not drenching as well. That's a big one.
Yeah. So we know exactly how our pigs are raised. We do all of it. We breed on farm as well. So we know the whole life of our pig. We know exactly what's happening with them. So we know our fat's good quality, and hence the moisturizer was born. So yeah, we've got a food truck on our farm. We've got so it acts as our commercial kitchen. So we're producing, they're all handmade. So we developed, after a lot of product testing, we developed these moisturizers.
About 10 months to come up with the first recipe.
From concept.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I was very well moisturized after that, being the test subject.
I was like, give me a leg.
Of Liz's experiments. But yeah, I mean, she tried dozens and dozens and dozens of different recipes to get it right, because we wanted to achieve a product that used the minimum number of ingredients possible, used no ingredients that were in any way synthetic or had properties that we didn't want. especially ones that are traditionally used using a lot of chemicals. And so where we landed was on primarily a 3-ingredient product. And then we've got a few others that have a little bit of essential oil in them as well.
So how many products in the range?
So we've got the 4 here. So we do a tallow-based moisturizer because we also produce beef. Mm-hmm. So that's only one product. And then we've got the 3 ointments or the moisturizers.
I love that ointment.
That's a good dad.
It's a great dad joke.
While you guys are chatting. Is that all right?
Of course. So that's, I'll give credit to my dad for that one. It's obviously a dad joke. And then we've got a limited edition like scrub as well, or the 2 scrubs. So so they're a good like moisturizer base plus a physical exfoliant. So
and we have a few others coming.
Yeah. Oh, just feels amazing.
Yeah.
It really does, especially once it comes up to temperature. So you find you only need a really tiny, tiny amount. And as it warms up, it continues to spread out. And then as soon as it hits body temperature, your skin basically just eats it. And so we initially thought, well, maybe we describe this as food for your skin because that's really what it is. And there's nothing in there that you can't eat.
You could technically eat it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I will say we've done a podcast with Jamie Gannon and we had some of your moisturizer here and I think he's going to create a recipe. So
I've heard that. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he can create.
Yeah, me too. Well, you guys, it's just wonderful to see, in this short amount of time, you guys going from strength to strength, and scaling your business and really looking at it as, this is your life, your career. It has to be sustainable and value adding your products. I mean, you're really looking at it as a long-term game plan. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Now that I'm full time on the farm too, we've got ourselves a 6-month runway to make it work and to really have it all click. So we're right there, right on the edge, and we're really excited.
Do you guys think that small scale regenerative farming can feed the world? Or do you think it's more about, changing a mindset and education?
I think both.
Yeah.
There's definitely a discussion to be had around scale and what small scale can do because there are limitations. So right now, our scale is too small and you need to get to a certain point where you can achieve a minimum viable scale. Can regenerative agriculture generally feed the world? I think it's the only way that we can. One of the big things with regenerative ag is that you pay the full price up front. So what I mean by that is there's no subsidized costs. So there's no additional pollution. There's no additional impacts on the environment. You're improving biodiversity. You're improving carbon sequestration. And you're improving health outcomes. So not having the chemical exposure means that we won't have to spend the amount on healthcare as we do now, which is a direct impact from the food system. The way that the industrial system works, it has a subsidized cost. So we have a shed that raises chickens as an example. All of the manure needs to be carted away and disposed of. We have huge areas of land that need to be implemented as barriers because of smell. None of these things need to exist in a regenerative ag setup, especially once you start going down the route of on-farm abattoirs as well. It means you're not outsourcing those problems. They're all kept in-house and they're all managed, and you turn pollutants. So think the manure, think the bedding, think the waste products from the slaughter process. They all become resources that can be used to improve the land. And when you improve the land, you then increase the carrying capacity. You increase the biodiversity. You increase basically the ecological function.
So with the abattoir, you mentioned earlier that it's an 8-hour round trip.
Yes.
Now, is your ultimate goal is to have an abattoir on the property?
Well, that was going to be what I was going to say in regards to your question about whether regenerative agriculture can be the future and whether it should be. And that really, without getting too political, it really comes down to what legalities can be changed, because everything is like large scale. All the rules and regulations are referring to big industrial farms. So like micro abattoirs, there's
there's only a handful, and they're only just starting to get I guess, started again. And Tammy Jonas has had a really big impact on that. I mean, she's putting in one now.
And
She's in Victoria.
just to be clear, Tammy Jonas is from Jonay Farms down in Victoria.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so us having to travel a minimum 8-hour round trip means that it's not as financially viable as it would be if like we were able to have micro abattoirs that or have one on farm. And that again impacts the meat quality as well, and the stress that the animal has when we're having to drive that far.
Okay. Well, it doesn't improve any outcomes at all. I mean, there's no reason that a small micro abattoir can't achieve a very safe and a very clean output. There's no reason it has to be done in an industrial facility. And when you remove that requirement, you eliminate the transport, which means time, it means fuel, it means cost, but you also eliminate stress.
Yes.
And that's a massive impact on the quality of the meat. I mean, there would be nothing better than to be able to move our pigs from one paddock to the next, and then that's it. You know, it takes it from one bad day to no bad days. And one bad day is currently really the top tier of animal welfare, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's something that we want to work towards. But right now, it's simply a cost thing. It's just cost prohibitive for us to put in a micro abattoir.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in a micro abattoir, which is insane. But yes, something needs to change in order for regen ag to be able to feed the world.
Well, do you find that cost comes into play at the market, or with the consumers there, or even now that you're scaling and you're going more into wholesale and food service?
We're lucky with Carriageworks Farmers Market that everyone's they're all very interested in where food comes from, food provenance, and the practices in place that, how the food was raised.
And understand the value in that.
Exactly right. Yeah. So they understand the quality and the importance of that. And so they're willing to pay a decent
fair price.
Yeah, fair price for the work that we put in, knowing that this animal has had the best care that it can get. And so, yeah, from that perspective, we can also speak to people and explain why something is priced the way it is. And
or that the fat ratio is what it is.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, but yeah, it's just only a small part of the market, obviously, when you're talking about going up against the duopoly. So we can't, there's no way that we could price to that point, the same.
Are there any venues out there? I know we do have chefs that listen to our podcast that you would love to get your pork or your chicken in front of and have them taste it.
So we're really focusing now on trying to get into some venues for our chicken now that we're scaling. Our pork is more of a fun collaboration type thing. So we're very much keen to try that and to have some fun with it, but we don't have the numbers yet. So that's going to be a different avenue for us to scale a little bit later because we'll need some more land. But for the chickens, we're absolutely looking for some venues. And I mean, our all-time favorite venue is Sixpenny, but
okay, all righty. Well, that's in Stanmore. So, okay, well, you never know. George and the team might be listening.
Aim high, right?
Yeah. Oh, you guys, well, congratulations on all that you've achieved to date. And we can just see that it's just, you're going from strength to strength, and how wonderful it is that you guys are able to do it together. And you're working really, really hard and creating beautiful small goods and fresh meat, and now your cosmetic range. I mean, I am highly moisturized, which I absolutely love. And it's just terrific to see the innovation that you put into it too.
And for anyone who's wondering, how does the moisturizer smell?
Oh, well, what's interesting is you've got, actually, let's talk about this now that we're here. Citrus.
So citrus is our sweet orange. Then we've got holidays, which is a blend. So it's got nutmeg, clove, pine, lime, bay, and orange. And then we've got our honey, which is interestingly unscented. So it just smells a little bit like honey from the beeswax that's in there.
Oh, you've done an excellent job just
no
getting that
bacon
right
smell.
balance too. I don't smell like bacon. Well, I do a little
roast pork.
bit. But yeah, that's it. Is there any last statement you'd like to leave us with?
Support local, support small farms if wherever you can. We'd love to make this mainstream, and
yeah. And if you're unsure why something costs what it costs, ask.
We're always happy to have a chat, so come see us, reach out to us on social media. Yeah, we're always happy to chat.
Wonderful. Well, Sam, Liz, thank you so much for being on the Straight to the Source podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for
so
having
much
us.
fun. And,
Appreciate it.
We've got so much respect and admiration for all that you guys are doing, and we're here for you. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If this conversation sparks something in you, please share it, talk about it, and consider how your plate can be part of the solution. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time with more real talk from the change makers shaping Australia's food future.